Hey, before this video starts, I'm just going to make a quick little explanation as to why you'd want to do this. The AMD Wraith Prism cooler, which I think comes with all of the higher end X series Ryzen CPUs, mine came with a 2700X. If you have an AMD Wraith Prism cooler and you want to control the RGB fully, you need to use the USB cable. Well, if you're like me and you bought your CPU secondhand off eBay or wherever, and the guy who you bought it from didn't give you the cables, then you're kind of out of luck because there is no one that sells this cable on its own. It might be possible to get full control out of a 4-pin RGB cable, but I've been reading conflicting things, so it's better off to just use the USB cable that AMD would provide if you had it, and I don't, so that's why I'm making this video.
Alright gamers, I'm going to show you how to modify your AMD Wraith Prism cooler, the one with the RGB fan and ring. I'm going to show you how to make it work and controllable without the cable, and how to make your own cable. So you're going to need your cooler top, obviously. You can just pop this off your heatsink. It just is attached with some clips. I'm sure you can figure out how to get the screws off yourself, not a problem. And then I unscrewed this board and wiggled it out. And this is what we're going to be modifying. We're going to be soldering a new cable to this and running it out through the existing cable hole right there. So you're going to need a multimeter. You're going to need one of these spare USB 2.0 motherboard headers. You could also just use a USB cable and plug it into the USB port somewhere, but this is a more elegant way. But we also need a USB cable anyway, just for the cable itself, because we don't want this ugly, gross nastiness in our case. We want a nice, low-profile black cable. So I'll be rewiring this somewhat, and that's it. You might also want to equip some pants, because boy, let me tell you, these mosquitoes, they're out here, and they are not happy boys. And you're gonna need a crappy garbage soldering iron, preferably with the sharpest tip you can get. This is the best I can do, so what I like to do is I sand the tip down to a fine point, so that way it's kind of usable. So first thing you're going to want to do is cut the end off your USB cable and start stripping the covering off of it on both sides, and start exposing the wires, because what we're going to want to do is first test the cable to make sure it's good, because it's totally possible that this is a bad USB cable. So these USB 2 headers are pretty easy to understand, the pinout, especially if you can see the colors, and you'll see our USB cable we stripped also has the same colors. Black is ground, green is data plus, white is data minus, and red is 5 volts. So in our situation, we don't even care about the 5 volts, because all the USB connector has is data plus, data minus, and ground. I assume this is because it's getting the 5 volt power rail from the this connector that goes into the motherboard, and it's probably shared. So we can completely ignore the red cable entirely, and we'll be wiring this up like green, white, then black. Oh, and before you go tearing this apart, if you have a connector for this, it's a lot easier just to make a cable with that connector at the end. I'll put a picture in the video with the pinout and the kind of connector that you need. It's like a J something connector, I don't know, but I couldn't be bothered to buy a bunch of those connectors just for this one thing. But if you can find one, then you're set. But every 3-pin connector I could find wouldn't fit this. So now it's going to be difficult to test these with one hand, but green's good, white's good. Just hold these like chopsticks and I can actually do it, probably. Black is good. And red, even though we're not going to be using it, is good too. So we have a good cable. That's good. Now we can begin attaching this to our connectors. Alternatively, if you absolutely do not want RGB ever, and this is repairable, all you got to do is snip this wire right here, the final one. That's the 12 volt, as you can see listed right here on the circuit board. And then over here, as you can see listed on this, all you have to do is snip the VCC, which is the top one. And then you won't have any more RGB ever again. So now I've gone and stripped the ends of all the wires on our connector, and I'm only going to be using one side, but I stripped the other side just in case I do some kind of horrible mistake on the other side. But in the end, as long as everything's good, I'm going to cut all those wires off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tin the ends of all my wires, including my connector over here. And what that is I'm going to heat the wire up, and then I'm going to touch some solder to the wire and get the wire coated in solder so it's easier to solder later. So now this part can be a little tricky. What you're going to want to do is wrap the two wires together and kind of spiral them around themselves, then solder them again together, and that will make a good solid connection. So these are far from perfect solder connections, but it'll do. After that, you're going to want to wrap them in electric tape just to keep them from touching each other. So at this point, I highly recommend going and testing the continuity again from the connector, the golden side contacts, to the other side of the cable. Then I would highly recommend using some heat shrink tubing and covering this up to make it look not totally garbage. Now before you do anything else, make sure you run your cable through this hole first while it's still small, because obviously you can't get this part through there. You're gonna have to get this part through. So do that first. And do you really need this much slack? Probably not, but hey, might as well. My case is already a jungle of cables, so let's just add one more. So now all we gotta do is solder our green, white, and black wires to the connector, and we'll be good to go. So I was able to easily solder these on, but I have a problem. Because these cables were twisted in the cable, the green and the white might be touching, and it's hard to see, but they definitely are. So I'm going to try and do something to mitigate that. So in its current position, I've gone and used the multimeter to check and make sure that none of those cables are touching. So the way I'm going to remedy this is by hand 3D printing a bracket for it using a hot glue gun. That's totally clogged. But that's okay. Just gonna liberally apply some hot glue. And there we go. Now I got a nice big old glob of hot glue on there. Hopefully that'll keep it from touching. And now I have one fatal flaw to deal with. This cable needs to be routed inside of this, and I should have routed it underneath these LED strips, but I didn't. So now I have to figure out how to route it around the thing like this. So that'll be fun. So I'll honestly be surprised if this works. I guess I could possibly, well yeah, I could test it again just by using these as test points. So let's see. So after testing that, I'm kind of second guessing myself, but I think it might just be that this connector itself is wired differently than the wires on top of it somehow. But if it doesn't work, the cool part is there's only 3 cables at this connector, and all you got to do is flip these tabs up, and you can rearrange these however you want. So you could switch all of it around, and you'll be good. So we're going to go and see if this works. And here's the finished product, and I really think this is a more elegant solution than these side things, although now you can kind of see in there, but that's okay because it's mounted like this in my case, so you can't see that hole anyway. But look at that, it's all coming out of the same hole. That's kind of a cool cool dealio. And make sure you tighten these screws down really good because you don't want any looseness of this so it doesn't make any noise. Alright, so it's plugged in. I don't know what the deal is, if it's gonna work or not. I'm downloading the coolermaster software from AMD's website, and coolermaster is distributing this using Google Drive. So let's see. Oh great, I have to run a setup program. Awesome. They're probably gonna, okay, this is great. This is wonderful. Sure. Okay, good. That was an interesting installation experience. Alright, hey! Let's see here. Off. Boom! Hey, boy! Damn. Nice. Nice. Fan LED. Wow, you can change the logo LED too? What? Wow, this is kind of cool. What? What? White? Ooh. 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 Ooh, this is a hot little setup now. I kind of like that. Too bad it's still bright as hell. This is pretty cool, honestly. Theme, there's themes, you can import and export stuff. That's cool as hell. I kind of like the white fan. Oh my god, it can get bright. Oh, I can adjust the... Ooh, that's kind of cool. Hold on. What if I just make it like... Okay, that's cool. That's kind of cool. I don't mind that at all. Too bad you can't control this. Maybe you can. I don't know. But that's sick. I can use this other software, this software that will let me turn the motherboard accent lights off. But I kind of, the whole case is black, red, silver kind of themed, but yeah, I don't know, I kind of like that. It looks kind of cool. Looks kind of neat.